Okay, and then before I do my final move, so there we go. Cool. Alright, so I got a sketchbook purchase on my website, and in each of my sketchbooks I actually do a custom sketch on the first page, and so I thought I would record myself doing my sketch, do a little bit of streaming, and then also test out my traditional setup since of course I've been doing digital. So I'll actually give you a quick peek into my sketchbook. So this is my third volume of Goblin drawings. I've put one out every year, although I'm a little bit tardy on doing this year, so I gotta get that going. Yeah, here's just a little flip through. A lot of traditional. I don't know if there's any digital in this book, I forget, but yeah, mainly traditional stuff. A little bit of process in there. A lot of pencil work. A lot of stuff from Inktober. So here's some stuff I did in Inktober of 2019, I want to say, for this book. A couple more pages. So yeah, no, I don't think any digital in this one. This is all traditional. My new one should have some digital because I've been doing a lot of digital stuff. But yeah, in the front of each book that I sell, I do a personal sketch. And so someone just bought a drawing recently, or a sketch rather, and so I'm going to work on that. I got this cool view today of just my gut, my stomach. Kind of reminds me of Nanny from Muppet Babies, where there's no head. You just see the body. So these are my tools for the sketch. So I have a kind of like a hard eraser to wipe stuff out. I have a blending stump. And then I have a 2mm lead, like a thick lead, that's actually really stiff. This is what I usually kind of block my sketch in with. And the majority of the drawing I do with the mechanical pencil. If I have some time, I might actually dust a little bit of graphite on there to do some more of that, like smearing. That reminds me, I'll take a second to grab some sandpaper. So actually I haven't done this in quite a while. It's been probably like a couple months at least since I've done a sketch, which shows you, of course, the frequency of me selling the book, right? Usually I sell a few, I would say, when it first comes out, and then it's kind of a slow trickle from there, but we're going to get people on board. We're going to get them digging these goblins. Okay, so, yeah, let me get this a little more centered. So yeah, here's actually a sanding block that I'm probably going to use to sand some of the graphite and then use that for some of the first shading or blending. I have a little thumbnail, like a really small one. This is actually the equivalent of like what I would thumbnail to give myself an idea. I'm actually going to be working on a commission in probably about a week of a goblin that's like a merchant. And so I've been kind of kicking around this design for a goblin merchant. He has an eye patch. And then, of course, he's kind of got a big mouth. I mean, like, he talks a lot, a little bit of, like, the seedy eye, right? Kind of like the half-closed eye. So this is something, you know, usually I would do before I sketch. I might warm up a little bit, but otherwise I'll definitely do this where I draw, like, a little kind of thumbnail to figure out where I want it to go. But yeah, let me get all this stuff. I got, like, all kinds of things wrapped around my desk. Okay. And yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to film this also is because I don't always talk a lot about the process of my sketches, like my goblin sketches, so I thought it'd be cool to kind of talk a little bit about process. So usually I'd start with a little bit of structure, especially because I want to size this correctly. This is a sketch, so I go a little bit rougher on my structure. The nose is the most important thing to me. Even on a human head, that's usually like the part I put in first or I really want to see. Sometimes I'm really stiff with my structure in not a great way. I mean, like I kind of put too much effort into the structure and I lose some of the gesture of the character, and so I've been trying to go back to not doing that. Meaning, you know, I'm not trying to, oh, I think I got followed. Sick, alright. Yeah, I think I got some money here. Thanks for that. Yeah, so usually I try not to do too much structure because I've noticed in some of my drawings that kind of stiffens it up now, meaning it kind of makes my stuff not as lively. So I've gotten farther away from that. So yeah, if you're just joining my single viewer, this is a commission, like a commission sketch that I put in front of my sketchbooks that I sell. And so I got an order for one, and I thought, oh, I should do a stream and show a little bit of how I do this. Now, a big part of drawing a goblin is the ears are always going to go off the page. And that's actually okay. I found that the more I tried to force them to stay on the page, it actually made them feel kind of smaller. Like, it almost makes them feel a little bit larger, like a little bit grander in scale if their ears are always going off page. So I've learned to deal with that. And I got room to change this, but at the same time, you know, I'm trying to get this to a degree that I want, where I don't have to do too much erasing or messing with it. Especially on this little like sketchbook paper that's part of the Goblin sketchbook. Is this paper is pretty cool. Actually, I ordered the same style of book because I actually really like this paper in the front. It's kind of like a flat, creamy color. But I have noticed if I erase too much, I kind of rub the paper out a lot. It gets kind of worn out, so there's that kind of creepy smile or grin again. This guy's a merchant, so he's wanting to screw you over on a deal. So, and I normally don't give a large mouth to my goblins, but he's different because that's all he would do, is he'd be talking to you. Those are kinds of things, of course, I think about when I'm character designing someone like this. I like scarves and like layers, especially for a merchant. Again, he has kind of stuff from all over, so he'll have kind of like a big scarf. And usually for a sketchbook idea, this is about as far as I can get, meaning I can only do like about a shoulder height character. The last thing I'll do is I think I want to put some like moths on here. I call that language. Like, that's one of the languages of being in the cave, is there might be some moths kind of flying around, little chunks taken out of their wings. Okay, and the last thing before I dive in a little bit deeper is just checking some of the size of my stuff here. So for instance, like the nose might be like a little bit long, so I'll bring it up a little taller. Could go with the eye being just a little smaller. That's something I deal with a lot in the animation of my characters, is I want them to be expressive, but I don't want their eyes to be so big that it kind of breaks the style. So a little smaller in the eye. I've drawn these goblin characters for quite a few years. I've learned a lot about the way I draw them, and one of the cheats that I had to learn is that the ear basically comes like right next to the eye, which almost looks kind of flat, like we never would want that in a real drawing of a person. You know, we want to give more side to the head. But yeah, I've noticed that I have to kind of cheat this ear really close to the side of the face. I'm still kind of working that out as I draw more and more of them. I think in a funny way, this is like my 6th year at least, like 6th or 7th year of drawing characters like this, these goblin characters, and so it went from being, you know, just kind of like exploratory, and you know, even like you can see in the book that there's a lot of like exploration of like material and like how they're designed. But more and more I'm trying to make a formula. Like, I'm trying to make a true like proportion or look for like how I do them. Especially because I'm trying to do some comic work with them, and that would involve me having to recreate them over and over again. So he'll have some of his teeth showing. Again, he's very crusty, like most of the guys I draw. This is not bad for my time. I think I see it's been like about 10 minutes, and usually this is about as long as I'd want to invest before I want to start getting in there with some detail. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm probably going to brush a little bit of graphite in there. So I'll show that in just a second. Put some kind of like exaggerated stitches on this eye patch. And a little bit thicker on the band. Probably put a design into this scarf kind of layer part as well. Okay, so this is probably going back to my days of doing a lot of traditional artwork and stuff that's more kind of like artsy-fartsy in the material, and that would be taking some sandpaper and some graphite, and I'm going to kind of dust a little bit on here and then use that to kind of smudge some shading on there with the blending stump. And so in art, usually I'd call this like a ground, right? Like we're kind of making like a ground of gray. And a little goes a long way, I don't need a lot. So I'll put a little bit like over his eye patch, because I have a feeling that'll be kind of dark. Usually it'll be like in the face, because I'll do it around like his eyes and stuff. So it kind of looks like a bunch of crumbs of graphite. And then I take my blending stump, and using the side of it, I'd kind of start laying in some of the direction of like this fabric. This is where I get some really like nice, interesting mark making that's not tight like the mechanical pencil will be. And then of course it kind of knocks all the blankness out of the piece. Starts to get a little bit more value in there. So I can do this before or after I add a lot of drawing, but usually I like to do it before. This is something I just can't stop doing. It's like a total theme of my drawings, which would be like a big cast shadow of the nose. You know, it's probably one of the reasons I started drawing goblins, is just like things I tend to do, and that's one of them, is like a big shadow coming off the nose. I like that a lot. You'll see it in a second as I develop this more. Okay, and then this is a pretty good amount. You know, I kind of just miscellaneous rub like the rest of this graphite into there. So this is very painterly too, meaning it kind of is out of focus before I start to bring it into focus. And what I'm literally doing too is getting rid of any of this stuff so I don't smudge it onto my hand. And this is a little too heavy right here, so I'll erase into that. I actually pulled out this really tight eraser. I want to use that for kind of shaping and sculpting this. Shaping. Combo of shape and sculpt. So yeah, this is my probably 4th or 5th somewhat decent stream. You know, like finally getting some experience under my belt on like how to stream, how to get on the screen and everything. Got some music. It's actually not bad. This is the metal station on pretzel. It's kind of sick. I like it. If I could, I'd play all kinds of really cool metal, but of course can't do that with all the copyright stuff. Okay, so I got a little bit heavy in the nose, and so I do want to take this down a little bit, but not like with like a huge eraser. I actually kind of want to keep some of that texture, carve into it. Okay, so, and this is about where I want to start really doing some rendering. So I'll grab my mechanical pencil. This one's a 0.9, so it's a little bit thicker. I do a lot of like 0.5, you know, a little bit of 0.7, but typically 0.9 is one of my favorite ones to do mechanical pencil with because it's so thick. I readjusted my chair because this is serious business now. And usually I'd kind of come back in here and start putting things like the eye back in. I think as an educator teaching art, I always try to talk a lot about, you know, the way I draw or what I'm thinking, but even then there's these moments where I just, you know, it's hard for me, but I'll actually just kind of shut up. I'll be quiet and draw, because you know, there's parts of drawing that are really hard to explain, especially these kind of like intuitive parts where you're trying to design or get your shapes back. And I know that I don't always have to take up space talking, so this might be a part where I go a little quiet. Try to keep everything sharp. Kind of a little sharper, a little more linear, especially because I'm dealing with... the character himself is like that. He's not very soft. So another like Goblin, classic Goblin move is you really do lose a lot of this cheek over here. So there again, I've learned to just kind of let that happen and lose sight of that cheek. There's still not a lot of commitment, meaning I'm not pressing super hard, and I may never, because I want some stuff to be kind of soft in quality or a little bit, you know, like atmospheric. And when I talk about drawing, especially when I'm teaching, that's one of the biggest things I want to volunteer is, like, you know, you have all the time in the world to go really hard or dark on your pencil or your values, and so keep it chill for a little bit. Give him some kind of like bumps on his head. That's some pretty simple language for fabric. Not bad fabric, definitely want to be better at it, definitely want to do more studies of it. Noticed when I've been making some videos and tutorials that I do actually jump around a lot. Like, you know, I might be working down here, suddenly draw the eye, suddenly go to the ear. Like, I don't always work step by step, and I think that has good and bad qualities to it. Sometimes it means like it feels kind of scattered, like I'm just jumping, or I'm kind of like interrupting myself in a way, like, oh yeah, let me do this. Oh wait, I want to do that. You know, it kind of has a scattered quality, but at the same time, if I can avoid being really linear, I mean, like kind of incredibly like, you know, step A, step B, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of idea. I think there's some more energy. You know, it's like I want some stuff to feel, you know, kind of organic in the way I put it together. Being rigid is one of the worst things I could do, especially in a drawing, I think, like this. You know, I like it to have some energy and some experimentation. Okay, so I think I want to make one more pass of the stump and like the graphite in some areas, like the eye patch, some parts I want a little bit darker, and then I'll come in and start tightening it and even doing some erasing. I can see that on the Twitch, I think, or even of course on the video, it's a little bit shiny from the graphite, so here's like a little peek at how that's looking. When I put this on YouTube later, I'll definitely put a scan on there, so I'll put a complete drawing. That way you can see it without all the shiny graphite. Here's my little moths. Still working on that too, like that's just a little quick idea of them, but I still don't have like a total language for how they look. Okay, so yeah, a little more graphite on this eye patch. A little bit in like the socket there, and then actually in the fabric I want this to be pretty dark because I want to use the eraser and kind of erase out some pattern in it. Yeah, I'm gonna go kind of thicker and dark on down there. And I'm slightly conscious of like kind of blending it in the direction of the fabric versus just like swirling it around. I'm kind of like pushing it in the direction that it's bending or flowing. Yeah, and I can tell it's pretty shiny on the stream, so again, I'll scan it later, and then in general, of course, pencil's a little bit hard to capture. Maybe we'll go for an angle next time on the camera. A little bit on this nose shadow, a little on the cast shadow. And then kind of a tight roll here on the patch to get it darker. So we're at about 20 minutes, which there again's feeling good. If I wasn't talking or I was like really trying to hammer this out, I think I'd finish it in about 20 minutes, but I can tell I'm probably about 10 minutes away. And then there's quite a bit of crumbs on here, so this is where I do a quick little blow, get some of that off. I know there's a little bit of that glare, so there's what we have so far. So now at least we got some of that contrast going, like the fabric and the patch, and then now I'm going to come in and reinforce that, but more importantly, like tighten it up a little bit, tighten stuff up with the pencil. With the exception of, you know, the outside, so meaning like the ears and stuff, even like some of these lines, I'll take the eraser and actually kind of whiten those up to pretend that they're kind of out of focus. You know, even use one of the cleaner parts of this to kind of smudge and blur that a little bit. So not only is the stump for blending and shading, but it's also for focus. Like we kind of use this to push some stuff down a lot, kind of push it into the paper. Throw some of that junk off. All right. So yeah, final pass is a little bit of tightening. Here we go again on the shiny graphite. So this was some good experience for seeing how this looks on the camera. I'll get just wipe this graphite off. I'll get a little bit of a better angle next time so we don't see as much graphite. And predominantly that's why I do actually, I think, a lot of ink as well. So I'm just wiping up some graphite here. It gets a little bit messy, of course, on the mixed media part when you're doing that on the desk. Okay, so yeah, last thing I'm gonna do is some kind of tightening up. So especially the focal point, the eye, the nose, the mouth a little bit. Some actual nuanced shading and sort of like making those shapes stick out a lot. Also some little pockets of shadow, like here where the ear touches the face and the fabric. You know, what we often refer to as a spot black. If I want some really subtle shading, I actually go back to this 2mm. I forget what's in it, but it's like, I think it's like a 4H. It's like a really stiff lead. And so besides using that blending stump to blend, this is how it kind of creates some visual blend, is actually shading a little bit with this like really stiff lead. So for those of us that don't do a lot of drawing, you know, of course leads come in different grades, and then all the ones that say H on them, they're really stiff. So they're stiff and they're light. And when I would do like really academic drawing, which I haven't done in a while, I want to bust one out one of these days to just try it out again. I would use the H's a lot to blend. Like instead of a blending stump, I'd actually would use those to create kind of softer transitions. So I'll turn the paper so you can see a little bit of the build up there. One thing that's cool about all that smudging, like the blending stuff and everything, is even though it kind of looks like it on the camera, it actually isn't too shiny compared to like if I was really using like tons of hard pencil lines. I feel like this is actually less shiny. It's a little bit more of like a flat finish. So some little pockets of shadow where this eye patch is kind of strapped to the head. Yeah, I'm getting pretty close, so I'm gonna do a little bit of pattern in the outfit and use some of the white eraser to put some kind of hard highlights in the face, and then I'll pretty much be done. And then I'll show you, of course, my super secret finishing move, which of course is not that big a deal, but it is a move I do almost on every drawing now to kind of finish it off. Honestly, totally digging the metal station on Pretzel. I was expecting it to be kind of crummy because it's, I of course have it checked off for like safe music, like YouTube safe, no copyright, you know, strikes or something, and for the most part, like everything that's copyright free is kind of crummy. Oh, nice. Thanks, Fancy Fig. See that on there? Thanks a lot. Yeah, I see my whopping 2 viewers, which is cool, so feel free to type in the chat. I actually can't look over and see who's watching. I can see like the chat, but I can't like click on my viewers, so feel free to say what's up in the chat so I know who's here. Yeah, usually the strike-free stuff kind of blows, but this music's pretty sick. I'm into it. I'm trying to figure out my groove too. It's like, I like the lo-fi station. That one's not too bad, but I can't do lo-fi with the Goblins. They're too gnarly. So thankfully the metal's there for when I do some Goblin stuff. Yeah, not too much traditional. I mean, with my, of course, with my amazing amount of subscribers and viewers. Haha. You know, if I get more requests to do traditional, I definitely will. But largely I'll do digital. I'll do stuff on, you know, Photoshop or Clip Studio. I'm even trying to figure out how I can get Procreate to kind of run on here. I think that would be cool. So here's a little turn so you can see how the value's coming together. Liking the Goblin, awesome. Yeah, glad to hear that, Big. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so now I'm going to do a little bit of patterning into this fabric, and then a little bit of like detail on the patch. And I have this really sharp eraser, so I'm going to try to see if I can kind of carve into it with this sharp eraser. Oh yeah, that works well. So my top pattern, like my go-to, is the spiral. That's like my absolute favorite pattern. The spiral is actually part of, this is cool, it's part of this really big set of imagery. If you don't know this, I learned this from Kate, my fiance, of what's called Ent-Optic imagery. So E-N-T-O-P-T-I-C, Ent-Optic. And what that is that's that's kind of like pattern and imagery we see biologically, like as humans. So the cool thing for thinking about those patterns is they're universal. Like they don't really have like a culture, which I think is good, especially, you know, nowadays, rightfully, and then sometimes, of course, like kind of extremely, people get very sensitive about like the use of like a pattern, you know, from a culture. And I definitely think there is right and wrong ways. That's like another rainy day topic, right? About like right and wrong ways to use pattern. But that's why I like endoptic pattern, because nobody owns it. It's like just true human pattern that we deal with or think about. So then you can kind of use it and feel comfortable, especially in this case with like a goblin, you know, that I'm not really referencing anything real life. But yeah, I love the spirals. I'm making kind of all these little half spirals from the fabric folding. That's my go-to pattern. I love spiral. So here's a little peek now at the spiral you can see in there. Let's see if I can bring that a little bit closer. So you can see like that little bit of spiral. And then the last thing is I kind of wanted to do these like exaggerated stitches in the patch, kind of like these big white stitches. And I'll put a little bit of pencil under them. So I can just like really pushing that shape to show up. Alright, so, and we're at 30 minutes, so we are truly at the end. This is my last little bit of work and moves in this. So now this is one of the few times where I kind of scribble, meaning like I wouldn't use like a specific direction, and it's to create some texture, to kind of make this like a little bit rougher. Want a couple of like focused highlights, so usually I'd put a highlight like in the brow, maybe like a little crease in the skin here by the eye. A little bit of highlight like in the nose. It's one of the only times I'd erase some sharp highlight. So I should draw myself, drawing-wise or like viewer-wise, into the focal point, like right here. Okay, a little bit of dusting. It's very, very important, especially if you're about to put in the scanner, get all that dust off there so you don't get dirt in your scanner. Okay, and then before I do my final move, so there we go. Okay, so my final move is the swipe with the pencil. And I actually got that move from this life drawing artist, an Italian artist named, I think I'm saying it correctly, Giovanni Civardi. And I noticed like on all of his life drawings, he'd sort of like scribble, even do like these little like tick marks, like these little like random marks like this. And I grew to really love that because it gives the drawing some energy, and then it's like highly unpredictable. Like in a drawing that's kind of, you know, even this one, I want it to feel messy, but it is a little bit tight. Like, I mean, it has like some thought put into shapes and everything. So kind of like in a tight drawing, you know, even then you have this like one move, this one like kind of idea that you can't control a lot. And so just sort of like psychologically, I like that a lot. So almost all my drawings, even sometimes on the computer, I end with that little kind of like scribble swipe idea. Okay, and then of course the true ending. Put the signature on there. It's actually been so long since I've done my traditional signature, I almost forgot. What is it? There we go. And then of course 2021. Yeah, and it's been a minute since I've sold a sketchbook, so this would be my first, I think it's my first one of 2021 that I've drawn. I'm not exactly the world's best advertiser. But yeah, if you go to my website, which is on my Twitch, and I think I'll try to show it at the end of the channel here. Or excuse me, at the end of this, like it's on my channel. I'll show you at the end. If you go there, my website has a store, and you can see my sketchbook there. So this is, of course, Goblin's Volume 3, with Volume 4 coming out this year. A little bit later, usually I get it done by March, but yeah, I'll definitely have Volume 4. And I'm kind of excited to even do Volume 4 as maybe a collection of the first 3 plus some new stuff. Kind of like a check-in on like all the work I've done over the years. So yeah, here's one more pass or one more look at it. So pretty cool. One last thing I'll do real fast is for a big shadow like this, I might want to even sort of lightly shade like all the way down to kind of group all that shadow together. So just some like technical, tiny things with drawing, sort of technical moves. But yeah, for those of you checking in, Fig, anyone else, thanks so much for watching this. I'll put a replay up on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching as well. Overall, again, time wasn't too bad. Usually I try to do one in about 20 minutes, but of course I enjoyed kind of slowing down and talking a little bit about everything I was thinking and imagining as I worked on this. Just put some last little texture in there. Fade out a little bit of that shadow. So yeah, and there it is. So, and overall on the camera I even like seeing like pretty nice contrast. Like that's sort of the contrast I usually want to see. So here's the book, Goblins Volume 3. You can check it out in my store, and then I'll wrap up with, I don't think I have a camera. Oh yeah, there's my camera. So here's my half body down here. But yeah, there's my website. So if you go to my website, if you go to my Instagram especially, you'll see the link on there. And you can check out my sketchbook and anything else I'm selling in the store. I actually also sell, I'll show you real fast, stickers. I also have stickers for sale on there as well. So here's some of those. Let me actually go back to the camera real fast. You can see that. So these are like two of my newer stickers. So one's of the cover, and then one's of this kind of dragon skull helmet character. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for watching. I'll do a couple more streams this week because I have a little bit more time this week than last week to stream and draw, and I'll probably be back on doing some character design on Photoshop. And so thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching as well. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. See ya.